Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Chrissy. If you like this video, give this video a subscribe button, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Today I'm going to be talking about the whole October 15th strike day, which I'll be uploading today on October 15th. And it's pretty much about how it's about the high demands for wages, no corporate tax loops for the 25%, better maternity leave, along with a lot more unionization with a lot of businesses, just besides a few selected. And that an article that I found, which I will link in the description box below, but like it's pretty much saying that like how thousands of workers have gone on strike across this country, showing that their growing powers does tighten the economy, along with how the U.S. employees have over people signing their paychecks, which amplified in last week's job reports that had showed that like employers had added workers at a much slower than expected pace back last month in September. The unemployment rate did fall 0.4 percentage points during that month, but to 4.8%. But the government said that for that past Friday, wages are continuing to tick up across many industries as employers become more desperate to hire and retain workers. But within the first 5 days of October alone, there were 10 strikes in the U.S., including workers for the well-known brand of Kellogg's plants in Nebraska, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee, and that school bus drivers in Minnesota, I think it is, or in the state of MD, and janitors at the DIA airport, which was really interesting seeing that come up, and that doesn't include the nearly 60,000 union members in the film and television productions who have unanimously voted to grant their union's president the authority to call a strike because of their long work hours. And the thing with the janitors at the DIA airport is because of their benefits and their safety with the whole COVID situation. And that DEO is one of nearly 700 nurses who have been on strike as part of the longest healthcare strike in Massachusetts history. During the past 7 months, she had reported that of duty at the hospital in Massachusetts where she worked as a nurse for more than 15 years, sometimes bringing her daughters and standing outside through the chills of the spring and the heat of the summer, and that the nurses are demanding more nurse to patient ratio after the 19 months of working during the pandemic. And she had stated that there's no choice to give up on the strike. It's bigger than us, it's for everyone, just because of how there would be one nurse to like 20 people, and at least like 5 to 10 of those patients are COVID positive, so there's like really no balance. And that most of these strikes aren't counted by the federal government, which in the 1980s started tracking strikes that involved 1,000 or more workers and have lasted one full shift or longer. There has been only 11 of those so far, and that according to the government data, which places like Volvo Trucks and Nasbro, like the cookie company, and that like one PhD student who directs the Cornell's labor action tracker has documented 169 strikes so far, and that he had said that workers are fed up with low pay and understaffing, and they have more labor market leverage than employers need to hire right now. You are seeing a little bit more than a labor unrest, which I honestly do agree, because federal minimum wage has not been increased since 2009. Because if you look, it's federally $7.29, and a lot of states do go base their wages on that, and the federal tipped wage, while a lot of states have gone above that to almost $15 an hour, but it doesn't have the cost of inflation, like rent / down payments, inflation and stuff like that, and everything else to keep the cost with inflation. If the federal minimum wage had kept up over the past 12 years, it would honestly keep up and it'd be around $20 to $30 an hour for the federal minimum wage to keep up with inflation costs. inflation's going to happen regardless. So the federal minimum wage should be able to keep up with that. And also, the article does mention that there's a greater income inequality equals more strikes, pretty much. That part of the support of unions and organizations may come from Americans' discontent with the growing inequality, much as inequality a century ago galvanized the labor market then, said Tom Kay, a professor of work and employment research at MIT. There are a growing number of billionaires in America, and that as of August, there's 708 billionaires, a net worth of $4.7 trillion as of August 17th, 2021. And that there are more that's more than the total net worth of the bottom 50% of the U.S. And that he had stated that I think the accumulated effects of the loss of good jobs in manufacturing, stagnant wages, growing inequality, and the growing disparity between executives and managers in the workforce, all this is fueling increase in organizations, which I do agree, since like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and also Zuckerberg make trillions of dollars for stuff that we use on a day-to-day basis, and that they should be able to pay a good portion of their taxes to help with actual wages. And that also in the article was mentioned that some of the labor activists, activism was happening before COVID. Said Tom, when even the government strike tracker showed an uptick in unrest, teachers in the U.S. in states like Arizona and Oklahoma started a strike back in 2018 because of the low pay and the lack of public funding, and that, which I do agree, teachers should be paying more because they're watching about 30 to 40 kids each lesson they do. And then in 2020, NBA athletes walked out of a playoff game to protest the shooting of John Black in Wisconsin, which I found very interesting because I did not know about this, but that is really interesting. And that that the pandemic has worsening work conditions of thousands of workers like Daniel, because the Kellogg workers at a plant in Battle Creek, Michigan, told the local news is that they were considered heroes for working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week during the pandemic. Rather than reward the employees, the company decided to offshore some of their jobs. They went on strike on October 5th. Musicians at the San Antonio Symphony, said that they voluntarily accepted 80% pay cuts last session, and that the symphony then proposed first to permanently cut their pay by 50%, then cut the number of full-time members from 72 to 42. They went on strike on September 27th, and I just find it interesting that the Kellogg company, which makes billions and trillions of dollars over their cereal and stuff, didn't give like their employees like bonuses or some sort of like good incentive. And then another part of the article has stated, do strikes work? And it stated that, like, for the most part, employers say that they are being fair, but the workers are being unreasonable. Kellogg provides workers with benefits and compensation that are among the industry's best, a company spokesperson said in the statement. The company said it has not proposed moving any jobs from ready-to-eat cereal plants, which are the plants that our workers are striking, as part of negotiations. And that the San Antonio Symphony stated that the union and the symphony agreed to 25% reduction in weekly salary for the 2020 to 2021 session, but that's because there were fewer performances and because fewer musicians could fit on stage because of the social distancing guidelines. Some musicians did make 80% less than they would have made in a normal season, and that the symphony needs to make fundamental changes. A spokesperson said it cannot afford to spend more than it makes through the ticket sales and donations, and that Also, it stated in the article that the CEO of St. Vincent's Hospital, where Daniel and hundreds of other nurses were striking at, say that the nurses are trying to push the 1 nurse to 4 patient ratio in Massachusetts. Voters rejected by a large margin in 2018. That the hospital has done its research and decided staffing is appropriate, and that its staffing ratios are in fact better than most other hospitals in the state, and that Ryan stated that the hospital announced that it's hiring 100 permanent replacement nurses in May during the COVID-19 surge, and that the striking nurses are insisting on getting their old positions back, which is kind of like, that's a great line. And it's just, I find the article so interesting. I will post this in the description below for you guys to read, but honestly though, I would highly recommend, if you could, to participate in the strike so there is more compensation for us workers and customer service for restaurant, hospitality, nurses. If you liked this video and made it to the end, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.